Shalom. I'm Rabbi David, and if you're over 50, what I'm about to tell you could be the difference between a dignified retirement and spending your final years worried about money. I'm not going to sell you on the next hot stock. I'm not going to promise you'll double your money in 6 months. In fact, if that's what you're looking for, close this video right now. Because the number one investment tip for those over 50 has nothing to do with getting rich quick. It has everything to do with not dying poor. Let me tell you a story. When I was 52 years old, I met a man at our synagogue. Brilliant guy, Harvard MBA, spent 30 years climbing the corporate ladder at a Fortune 500 company. Vice president, corner office, 6-figure salary. He looked successful. He sounded successful. But when we sat down to talk about his retirement plan, I discovered something shocking. He had almost nothing saved. He'd spent 3 decades earning a fortune and had less than $200,000 to show for it. How? Because he made the same mistake most people over 50 make. He thought his income was his wealth. He thought his career was his security, and he thought he still had time to catch up. He was wrong on all 3 counts. 2 years later, his company restructured. He was let go. At 54, with a severance package that lasted 6 months and a job market that didn't want expensive executives, he was in freefall. The last I heard, he was working as a consultant, making a fraction of what he used to earn, and his retirement had been pushed back indefinitely. This story isn't unique. I've seen it dozens of times. Smart people, hard-working people, people who did everything society told them to do. And yet, at 50, 60, or 70, they're still worried about money. Why? Because they never understood the fundamental principle that changes everything after 50. And that principle comes from a 3,000-year-old text. In the Torah, specifically in Leviticus 25, God commands the people of Israel to observe the Jubilee. Every 50 years, all debts are forgiven. All land returns to its original owners. Everyone gets a reset. Why 50 years? Because by the time you reach 50, you've had your the lender. This isn't poetry. This is economic reality. And after 50, debt isn't just a burden, it's a death sentence to your retirement. When you're 30, debt can be a tool. You can borrow to buy a house knowing you have 30 years to pay it off. You can take a calculated risk on a business loan because you have time to recover if it fails. But at 50, every dollar you owe is a dollar you can't invest. Every interest payment is money that will never compound for you. Every month you carry a balance is a month you're working for the bank instead of yourself. I had a client, a 58-year-old woman, who came to me with $80,000 in credit card debt. She was making minimum payments, thinking she was managing it. I showed her the math. At 18% interest, she was paying $14,400 per year just in interest. That's money that could have been growing in a retirement account. Instead, it was evaporating. We created a plan. She sold her second car, she downsized her apartment, she took a part-time job on weekends. Within 3 years, the debt was gone, and for the first time in a decade, she could breathe. Here's what most people don't understand. Paying off debt is a guaranteed return. If you have credit card debt at 18% interest, paying it off is the equivalent of earning 18% on an investment. Show me a stock that guarantees 18% returns with zero risk. It doesn't exist. The Talmud teaches, "Who is rich? He who is satisfied with his portion." You cannot be satisfied with your portion if you owe your portion to someone else. So, if you're over 50 and you have any debt that isn't a mortgage on a primary residence, make it your number one priority to eliminate it. Not next year, not when you get a raise, now. Because every day you wait is a day you're stealing from your future self. Strategy number 2, shift from growth to income. When you're young, you invest for growth. You buy stocks that might double or triple. You take risks because you can afford to lose and rebuild. But after 50, growth is no longer your friend. Volatility is your enemy, because you don't have 30 years to rich overnight. But they will keep you from going broke. In the Torah, when God provides manna in the desert, He provides it daily, not once a year, not in a lump sum, daily. Because consistent provision is more valuable than sporadic abundance. Your investment strategy after 50 should mirror this. You want consistent, reliable income, not big wins, not home runs, just steady, dependable cash flow that covers your expenses and allows you to sleep at night. I recommend that by age 60, at least 50% of your portfolio should be in income-producing assets. By 65, that should be 70%. By 70, it should be 80% or more. This isn't about being conservative. This is about being smart. Because the goal after 50 isn't to get rich, it's to stay rich. Strategy number 3, avoid the comparison trap. In Exodus 20, the 10th commandment is, "You shall not covet." Not covet your neighbor's house, not covet his possessions, not covet his success. Why is this a commandment? Because envy is the fastest way to destroy your financial life. I've seen it over and over. A 55-year-old man is doing fine. He has a solid job, a decent retirement account, a paid-off house. He's on track. But then his brother-in-law starts bragging about the killing he made in Bitcoin. Or his golf buddy won't shut up about the tech stock that tripled. And suddenly this man feels like a failure. He feels like he's missing out. So he does something stupid. He takes money out of his boring, reliable index funds and throws it into whatever his buddy is hyping. 6 months later, the crypto crashes. The tech stock collapses. And he's lost 30% of his retirement savings, trying to keep up with people who were probably lying about their gains in the first place. Envy doesn't just make you unhappy, it makes you poor. Here's the truth. After 50, you are not in competition with anyone. You're not trying to beat you. Invested. Cash in a high-yield savings account where you can access it immediately. Why? Because emergencies don't wait for the market to recover. Your car breaks down, your roof leaks, you have a medical issue. If you don't have cash, you're forced to sell investments at the worst possible time. Layer 2. Insurance. Health insurance, obviously, but also long-term care insurance if you can afford it. Disability insurance if you're still working. Umbrella liability insurance to protect your assets from lawsuits. I know insurance isn't exciting, but I've seen people lose everything because they didn't have it. A medical emergency that costs $200,000. A lawsuit from a car accident. A disability that ends their career. Insurance is the moat that protects your castle. Layer 3. Diversification. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. Don't have all your money in stocks. Don't have all your money in real estate. Don't have all your money in one company, even if it's the company you work for. I've seen too many people retire with most of their wealth tied up in their employer's stock. They think it's safe because they know the company. But companies fail. Enron, Lehman Brothers, countless others. The Torah teaches us this principle in Ecclesiastes 11:2. Divide your portion into 7 or even 8, for you do not know what disaster may happen on earth. Diversification isn't about maximizing returns. It's about surviving disasters. Strategy number 5. Think like an owner, not an employee. This is the most important strategy, and it's the one most people over 50 miss entirely. For most of your life, you've been an employee. You traded time for money. You showed up, you did the work, you got paid, and when you stopped showing up, the money stopped. That's fine when you're young, but after 50, you need to shift your mindset from employee to owner. What's the difference? An employee earns money by working. An owner earns money by owning things that work for him. Let me give you an example. When I was 48, the Lord your God, for it is He who gives you the ability to produce wealth. The word for ability in Hebrew is koach, which means power or strength. But it also means leverage. God doesn't just give you money. He gives you the power to create systems that produce money. That's ownership. If you're over 50 and you're still 100% dependent on your job for income, you're in a dangerous position. Because jobs end, health fails, companies downsize, and when that happens, if you don't have ownership, you have nothing. So start building ownership now, even if it's small, even if it's just buying dividend stocks, or investing in a rental property, or starting a side business that could eventually run without you. Because the goal after 50 isn't to work harder, it's to own more. Now, let me address the elephant in the room. Some of you are thinking, Rabbi, this is all great advice, but I'm 55 and I have almost nothing saved. I've made mistakes. I've wasted time. Is it too late for me? Let me tell you another story. In the Talmud, there's a famous story about Rabbi Akiva. He didn't start studying Torah until he was 40 years old. Before that, he was an illiterate shepherd. He had nothing, no education, no wealth, no status. But at 40, he made a decision. He saw water dripping on a stone, and over time the water had carved a hole in the rock, and he thought, if water can carve stone, then surely Torah can carve my mind. He started learning at 40. And by the time he died, he was one of the greatest scholars in Jewish history. He had 24,000 students. His teachings are still studied today, 2,000 years later. The lesson? It's never too late to start, but you have to start now. If you're 55 with nothing saved, you don't have time to waste on regret. You have 10 years until retirement age. That's 120 months. If you save $1,000 per month and invest it at a conservative 6% return, you'll have over $160,000, your future self. 4. Build a moat around your wealth. Emergency fund, insurance, diversification. 5. Think like an owner, not an employee. Build assets that work for you. These aren't complicated. They're not sexy. They won't make you a millionaire overnight, but they will protect you. They will give you security, and they will allow you to retire with dignity. In Proverbs 13:11 it says, "Wealth gained hastily will dwindle, but whoever gathers little by little will increase it." After 50, you don't have time for haste. You don't have time for gambling. You don't have time for get-rich-quick schemes. You have time for discipline, for consistency, for wisdom. And if you apply that discipline, that consistency, that wisdom, you will be okay. Not rich, not famous, not impressive to your neighbors, but okay, secure, free. And that, my friends, is worth more than all the Bitcoin in the world. Now, I want to hear from you. In the comments below, tell me, what's your biggest financial concern as you approach or pass 50? What keeps you up at night? I read every comment, and I'll do my best to give you guidance. And if this video helped you, if you now have clarity about what you need to do, subscribe to this channel. Next week, I'm going to teach you the 3 biggest financial mistakes people make in their 60s and how to avoid them. Remember what Moses said in Deuteronomy 30:19. I have set before you life and death, blessing and curse. Choose life. Your financial future is a choice. Choose wisely. Shalom, and until next time.